The Pittsburgh Steelers deciding to rebuild Drew Allar's mechanics is a risky one, but it's the best one for his long-term career.
You are Locked On NFL Draft, your daily podcast covering the NFL Draft. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to the Locked On NFL Draft Podcast. I'm Damian Parson, and on today's episode, we're talking rookies and a little supplemental NFL draft. We're going to close the show out talking about Brendan Sorsby, Texas Tech quarterback that may be entering the NFL supplemental draft this summer. We'll discuss that. We're going to talk about whether or not the Arizona Cardinals should allow Carson Beck to battle to be the week one starter for the 2026 NFL season. We're going to start the show breaking down Drew Allar and the Steelers deciding to rebuild his mechanics and why that is the best decision for Drew. The Pittsburgh Steelers, it came out that I think it was Brooke Pryor stating that the Pittsburgh Steelers, a report came out earlier this week, maybe a day or two ago, that the Pittsburgh Steelers, Mike McCarthy and their decision makers and their coaches, they were basically, the word they used was uninstalling everything that Drew Allar has learned from Penn State. If that is for those parents who have quarterbacks trying to go to Vatech, to James Franklin, you might want to hit pause when you hear a thing like that coming from a Super Bowl winning head coach and a coach that's been known to be kind of a QB whisperer throughout his career, an offensive mind in a Mike McCarthy. And that's what's been saying. Brooke Pryor said they're essentially, per quote, they're essentially uninstalling everything he has learned, and they're re-uploading their own methods, fundamentals, and mechanics with Allar. She said, I watched Mike McCarthy and QB coach Tom Arth be very intentional with Allar, who was running at about half speed, working on his footwork throughout the practice. And basically what they're trying to work on with his footwork, guys, is things I've talked about. They want to widen his base and keep him off his toes in the pocket, which will give him more time to process and move faster in the pocket against a live pass rush as he gets acclimated to the NFL. This is a right move for Drew. This is a right move for the Steelers. I know some people, it's been the talk, I got QB coaches and different people. Hey, man, I don't know if this is the right move. One of the biggest issues with Drew, Keith would say it was decision-making. I said it was decision-making. I agree with Keith on that. But I also said it was his mechanics. Same thing with like a Taylor Green. Like when your mechanics are off and not correct and not right, yeah, it throws off everything. It's like boxing to me at times, right? Hey, listen, you're not gonna throw the best right hook if you're not, turning with the hips and you really engaging your base and all of that, right? So that's a big thing for me. It's like your feet, your lower body, you need to be aligned to your targets. You need to be getting to your drop with optimal quickness and timing. Like to work in the NFL, to work quick game, your footwork needs to be as precise and as quick as possible so that you are ready to throw. In QB school, JT O'Sullivan, I think he used the term dovetail. You want to be dovetailed and be lined up to your target. And one of the issues with Drew is that his feet would be in different places than he's throwing. And then you see him throwing across his body. You'll see him be toesy in the pocket. You will see him be kind of narrow-footed. Now he's overstriding, overarching with that lead foot to open up. So they're working with him to get the muscle memory and stuff down. And here's why it's the smart thing for him long term. Drew Allar is not going to see the field if they can help it this season. The team, I think, has Mason Rudolph. And then if I'm not mistaken, you have Will Howard, and we have Aaron Rodgers coming back, right? So, I mean, I don't know if it's been official, but we know he's coming back, right? So if it's not been official, we know he's coming back. Point is, Drew Allar gets to sit behind three quarterbacks, right? Maybe 2 to 3. So if something happens to Aaron Rodgers, right? Aaron Rodgers returns. Let's say he has to miss a game or two. If Mason Rudolph's still on the roster, or if he's on the roster, guess what? He's the veteran. He's getting the run. But what if Mason Rudolph, maybe he's not on the roster. Maybe he's not, they don't utilize, they go with Will Howard. Either way, Drew Allar's not getting on the field, which means in the background, you can continue to work on him. And then that's where his work ethic comes in. The same guy who had a fractured ankle, whatever it was, back in October, and he said at the combine, the goal of my rehab and my recovery, my training, and everything else is to get to be able to throw here at the NFL scouting combine, which he did, which shows he has the work ethic you want to. If you give him a goal, he's going to fight for the goal. And I think that being able to, hey, this is some things you need to do. Work on the muscle memory part. Because then, yes, we can say, well, I mean, like I saw people talking about Markelle Fultz, and you don't want to do that because remember the Sixers they broke Markelle Fultz jumper, and heck, I mean, if you look at Giannis Antetokounmpo, right? When he came in, I think he had a more fluid jumper then as a skinny Greek rookie than he does now in his more muscle-bound frame, right? And things of that nature. But still, like it's apples to oranges, in my opinion. I think for Drew Allar, this makes the most sense. Work on the mechanics now, work on everything now, and work on it in the background where the spotlight is nowhere near you, right? Because once we get through training camp and preseason, guys, once the regular season kicks off, what he's doing at practice, the beat reporters won't be paying that much attention to. They're going to be looking at Aaron Rodgers and the starters and the defense and everything else, right? We're going to be watching film on live from the games, recapping what's happening, all that good stuff. We're going to get into our normal flow rhythm, and Drew Allar will be sitting in the background, in the dark, as a student, being studious, learning, but then also off to his own devices, off to his side, to the side, doing his own thing, which means he's doing it without pressure. And that's where he can truly hone in on the craft and hone in on the muscle memory of it all. It's different when you got a starter. I remember when Cam Newton, living in the Carolinas, remember Cam Newton, it was the shoulder surgery, right? And I think it was Ron Rivera might have been the head coach. It was such a terrible situation. Like Cam didn't get this, he got hurt, I think, during the season. And I don't believe he got the shoulder surgery, until January. So I'm at training camp, right? Cam is basically like they were coming in saying he just started to ramp up throwing right before training camp. So I'm at training camp and he's on like a pitch count of a little bit and things like that. And they're working with him to make sure he doesn't have any arm fatigue and any soreness and, in his throwing shoulder and stuff, right? So but he reworked that off season as he's rehabbing. He reworked his throwing motion to a more over the top, more sound and compact throwing motion. When he got to the season, right? Because people like to think, oh, well, just because he worked on it doesn't mean it's actually like there's even in NBA, you got players like Jalen Duren who supposedly worked on his jump shot. And then like when we get in the games, I'm not shooting jumpers. Okay, whatever. Ben Simmons, same thing. So yes, you have those cases, but you also have a case like a Cam Newton where he put the work in, and then you got to the regular season once he got out there as a starter, and I saw it in camp. He kind of had a little bit of lean back, and he had a more compact throwing motion, and the ball still popped off his arm. Still, he threw it more, but he threw it more touch, in my opinion, and it was a more sound and compact throwing motion, less strenuous on his shoulder the way he did throw the ball, after the surgery, right? And we got to the regular season, and he was throwing like that still. So I think that you work on it now for Drew Allar, work on that lower body, work on having the lower body mechanics, right? Work on everything being just one sound, fluid motion. And as that muscle memory just truly, as he memorizes it, muscle-wise, it's going to allow him to be more accurate. It's going to allow him to, like they said, play faster, right? Not be on your toes. Have your feet to the ground. Slide, move, and shuffle and avoid pressure, find throwing lanes, and get the ball out of your hands. I love this for Drew Allar, and I commend Mike McCarthy and the Pittsburgh Steelers coaching staff, him and Tom Arth, for understanding. How many times do we talk about this, guys? We say these quarterbacks come in, they're raw physically, or they're physically gifted, but they're raw mechanically and technically. And then and nobody takes the time to develop them. right? Well, guess what? This is part of the development of Drew Allar. So shout out to Mike McCarthy, shout out to Tom Arth and the Pittsburgh Steelers for identifying the problem, and now they are attacking the problem and going to fix said problem and giving a young quarterback his solution to help him develop. Guys, but coming up next, we're going to talk about the fact that there was per ESPN, there's been a report and a rumor that Carson Beck might have an opportunity to start week 1 for the Arizona Cardinals, and why that should happen. The 2026 NFL schedule release is here, and now you can trade every game on Kalshi. Schedule releases always spark debates. Who's overrated, who has a brutal stretch, and which teams are actual playoff contenders. Kalshi lets you trade on those predictions in a live market, from total wins to playoff chances and championship futures. And it's available in all 50 states, so it's easy to jump in and follow along during the season. For example, if you think a team has a schedule that sets up perfectly for a playoff run, you can actually trade on that prediction before the season even starts. On Kalshi, you're trading against your peers in a live market, meaning there's no house. And as the probability changes, you can buy in and out of your position. So trade the draft pick, trade the game, and more on Kalshi. For a limited time, download the Kalshi app and use the code LOCKEDON to get $10 when you trade 10. That's Kalshi, Kalshi, Kalshi. Trade on anything. Should Carson Beck be given the opportunity to start for the Arizona Cardinals week 1? We're going to talk about that, but don't forget to check out the Everydayer Club for ad-free episodes and access to our group chat with me, Keith, and other listeners of the show. Tap the link in the show notes or go to LockedOnNFLDraft.supercast.com. I want to make sure I say this right. If I mess up, please excuse me. Josh Weinfuss, I think it's Weinfuss from ESPN. There's a quote. He has this quote where it's like, while it's not likely there is potential for Carson Beck to be the week 1 starter, it is more likely that Beck will get a shot at playing NFL. Playing and starting in the NFL down the stretch of the 2026 season, right? So he kind of threw it out there like, hey, it's a chance, there's potential for it, but more than likely, right? So it's kind of it's giving you the opportunity that, hey, this could happen, but then setting some more realistic expectations, as we typically see with rookies anyway, right? Well, no. I think that we might see Beck maybe earlier than down the stretch in 2026. And I'm going to tell you why I believe that. Number one, this allowing Carson Beck to come in and compete for the starting job with Jacoby Brissett or Gardner Minshew, whoever, that's the right decision. One thing we know about Carson Beck, he is an accurate quarterback. He's a guy that can manage the game. He's a guy that can get the ball to your best players and do it at a pretty good level. Right? He said that he believes his arm is back to being fully healthy and he has the full strength. I can't wait to see him in preseason to see, hey, is he ripping these throws? Does it feel like the ball's popping off his arm in preseason game when the bullets are live and everything like that? We'll see, right? We will get the OTA videos and training camp videos and everything, right? So, but I think this makes a lot of sense. Number one, because I believe that Carson Beck, again, has the skill set that could lead this offense. And one thing about it, watching the film, guys, is because we're over at Bleacher Report, we're working on something, big fun project, NFL project that you guys are going to be excited about. And I'm tasked to watch the film, do some things like that. And watching tape, and I'm cleansing the palate before we get into summer scouting. And watching that Arizona Cardinals offense, one thing that was true, Kyler Murray is one of my guys. I love his athleticism, arm talent. Like he can make plays, be a dynamic playmaker. But last year, I felt like he held this offense back, passing wise, and everything. And watching Jacoby get the ball, push the ball down the field, drive the ball in the middle of the field on in cuts and things of that nature. I feel like you could evaluate Michael Wilson better. You can evaluate when he was healthier, and Marvin Harrison Jr. better. You can evaluate young pass catchers better with Jacoby than you could with last year's version of Kyler Murray. Hopefully, we see a better version of Kyler Murray with the Minnesota Vikings and Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison and everything. But I believe that, hey, just this offense just needs a trigger man. It just needs somebody at the helm that can really distribute the football, right? And especially the way that Marvin wins. Marv does a great job working into the middle of the field, running crossers, digs, out routes, hitches, comebacks. See, but you need a quarterback that can give him the ball. I believe that Carson Beck can do that. Number two, there is the contract dispute with Jacoby Brissett. He said he wants starter money. Now that's over 20 mil, stuff like that. Hey, the Cardinals got to figure that out, right? Monty Austin Ford, who I believe the GM is, he might be on a little bit of a hot seat. His seat might be a little warm. There's somebody under there with a lighter that's just leaving it on there, like, Macaulay Culkin from Home Alone or whatever, right? Got, the blow, instead of a blowtorch, it's a lighter, but it could turn the blowtorch quickly if things don't go well, right? So I think that it makes sense to allow Carson Beck to step in and let him compete. Because at the end of the day, what does competition breed? It breeds results, right? Competition gets the best out of everybody. And the last part I'll say why I think it makes sense. Because guess what? If he starts the full 16 and he's just not good, I'm not pulling him. I'm letting him go through it, right? Arizona, you've been here before. You've been here before with a rookie, Josh Rosen. But he was a top, 15 pick, top 12 pick. And he, started majority of his rookie year? Yep. Head coach is gone. I think that might have been Steve Wilkes, I think. Then you bring in Cliff Kingsbury, all stuff like that. Yeah, and then they drafted Kyler Murray first overall, right? So, yes, what I look at and what I think about in that situation is simple. If I'm the Cardinals, I want to be able to evaluate Beck for as long as I can. The Atlanta Falcons, waiting to the last 4 or 5 weeks of the season to see what they had in Desmond Ridder, bit them in the butt, right? And to this day, they still don't have a true franchise quarterback. I'm not in on the Michael Penix stuff right now, right? So when I look at Carson Beck, give him the 10, 13, 14 games to, number one, deal with the rookie jitters in the early starts, right? Get comfortable being uncomfortable as a rookie in the NFL, letting the game slow down for him and him find himself and find his footing. And if you do that, then, hey, that last 5 to 6 games, he looks like a legitimate starter. You're like, you know what? We don't need, even if we have the second overall pick, we can get a king's ransom, right? We can draft Jeremiah Smith or Colin Simmons, Dylan Stewart or whoever. We don't have to take Arch or Darian Mensah or that quarterback. We don't have to make that decision. So I think that's why it makes the most sense for Arizona to be smart and let Carson Beck compete for the week 1 starting job. Because what happens when we get to camp? I'm just saying, guys, you know how this works. If the rookie, there's a phrase in the NFL, saying, an adage, a belief, a notion. If the rookie, the battle between the rookie and the vet, if it's close, you lean rookie, especially at quarterback. They do this a lot, guys. So this isn't a Drew Allar situation where I have to lay you on the operating table and strip out different pieces and turn you into a cyborg and rewire you. And we don't have to do that with Carson Beck. He's a multi-year starter. Well, so is Drew Allar, but he's much more mechanically and technically sound. So you don't have to worry about those things. What you have to do with Beck is just give him the opportunity and let him go play. Let him go ball. Let him show you what he has. And again, if he's running the offense, because that's the key, managing the game first and being a savior later, right? So I think about, as I always tie in basketball, right? My Detroit Pistons are down 3-2. Shout out to Jalen Duren for being a no-show, being a ghost, and absolutely killing our team and everything. But I'm going to get on that tangent. But one thing that you'll see, right, in basketball, you'll see some star players who can score at will. They'll pick their spots for the first 3 quarters. And then they go bonkers and they go nuclear in the 4th quarter. I've seen Cade do it all playoffs. And I was actually reading a quote from DeMar DeRozan when he said he was traded to the San Antonio Spurs Greg Popovich, tricked him into being a playmaker as a guard and as a small forward, because everybody knew him as a scorer. The quote was basically, he tricked me into doing it because at practice he went and told everybody that DeMar DeRozan was point guard, and he said that it unlocked his ability to be a decision maker and a playmaker. And he said, hey, do this, like get everybody involved, make everybody else a threat. I'm paraphrasing a little bit, but he told him in the fourth quarter, do what you do, and that's score. So it's the same thing for me with quarterbacks. I don't need you to be Superman for all 4 quarters. Manage the game. Learn to manage the game first. And I think his time at Georgia and at Miami, Carson Beck knows how to manage the game. You're going to be able to run the football. You got the star tight end. You got 2 young receivers that can absolutely play. They just need the quarterback to give him the ball consistently. And I think Carson Beck can do that. And if he cannot consistently, and you end up with a top 3 pick, and you feel like Mike LaFleur, who drafted him, listen, Kellen Moore drafted Tyler Shuck. It worked out so far. Sean Payton, he drafted Bo Nix. It's worked out, right? And so I'm just saying, I tend to stick with the offensive-minded head coaches that, hey, they get to pick their guys. So maybe Carson Beck is his guy, but if he's not, you want to see everything and give him an opportunity to tell you he's not. So then you can go get your next quarterback in next year's class, if the class is as loaded as we hope and pray for, because it's not a given. Okay, I don't care how many clips you see on Twitter. This quarterback class has a lot to prove. Arch Manning, all of them, they have a lot to prove in 2026, guys. But coming up next, going to close the show out talking about a guy who's supposed to be in the 2026 college football season for the 2027 NFL draft. Brendan Sorsby transferred from Indiana to Cincinnati, transferred from Cincinnati to Texas Tech, but he might not play for the Red Raiders. He might be playing for an NFL team this fall. The NBA playoffs are here and in full swing, and every possession matters. If you're looking to get even closer to the action, FanDuel has a great offer to get you started. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. That's right. Turn $5 into $150 in bonus bets just for getting started. I like using FanDuel during the playoffs because everything I need is right there in one place. You can check stats, trends, and matchups before making your picks, which makes the whole experience feel a lot more informed. Whether you're looking at player props or just following your favorite stars, it adds another level of excitement to every game, and it's a really easy app to navigate, and it makes playoff basketball even more engaging from start to finish, and you can go look up the current lines right now on the website. So head to FanDuel.com today to get started. Again, head to FanDuel.com today to get started. FanDuel, play your game. If you've ever opened your bank account and thought, where did all my money go? You're not alone. Keeping track of subscriptions, spending, and bills can get overwhelming fast, and that's where Rocket Money comes in, helping you take control of your finances all in one place. It tracks all your subscriptions in one spot and can help cancel the ones you don't need anymore just with a few taps. It automatically categorizes your spending so you can actually see where your money is going, and you can set budgets, get alerts, and stay on top of up-and-coming bills. It just makes everything feel more organized and gives you a clearer picture of your finances day to day. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that helps find and cancel unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps lower your bills so you can grow your savings. Let Rocket Money help you reach your financial goals faster. Join rocketmoney.com/locked-on. That's rocketmoney.com/locked-on. Thank you for making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen of the day, and thank you for making the Locked On Podcast Network the #1 sports podcast network in America. It's all because of you. Brendan Sorsby going to the NFL Draft? Well, the supplemental draft. It's like a 50-50 shot right now. It's a 50-50 shot when it pertains to the Texas Tech Raider quarterback, 22 years old, and this is a talented young man, talented quarterback, that you had some draft analysts trying to prop him up and pump him up a little bit too soon during the actual college football season, and it didn't go well, right? So him returning to school to try and have a full season. This guy is listed on Texas Tech's website. They have him listed at 6'3", 235. Right, it's a big quarterback. This is a big quarterback with really good arm talent, ability to drive the ball. He showcases some fun throws where you're talking about off-platform, layered throws, arm angles, changes, different things like that. I could absolutely see an NFL offensive coordinator saying, man, if I can get my hands on him and we redshirt him for a year, stuff like that, we might have ourselves a franchise QB. Now, again, it's a supplemental draft, and it's 50-50 that he's going to enter. Looking at the reports, some of the articles saying that if it happens, if he does declare for it and it happens, it will be somewhere around July. So the teams can kind of do I think it's a bidding, a lottery and tiers and stuff. And basically I think you end up utilizing bidding. The highest bidder would get him, if I'm not mistaken. And so don't quote me, just go look it up yourself, guys. But I can't do everything. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, so I think it's a bidding situation where the team that gives up the highest 2027 draft pick would be able to get him, right? So, of course, we'll see how that plays out. I mean, it's been linked to teams like the Cardinals, the Jets, the Steelers. Man, it's been a couple teams linked to them, right? So, but I think with him, looking at him and what he brings to the table, again, I like the arm talent. I think when his feet are quiet and he's just sound and in rhythm in the pocket, he can sling it. He can rip it. He can make the throws you need him to make, right? Outbreaking routes from far hash, far sideline outbreakers, throwing the seam ball, and beating the zone coverage and everything like that. But then also he's mobile, 6'3", 235, and he can use his legs and everything. Now his accuracy, there's peaks and valleys to it with his accuracy and ball placement and everything. Sometimes just from what I was able to watch from him, what I saw from him when I did watch him, I wasn't too fond of him when it pertains to handling pressure at times and pressure getting in the backfield. Now, if he uses his legs and he's able to evade and use his athleticism, I'm fine with it. But I think overall, watching the situation, should he go? And if you've been living under a rock, the reason why this is a potential situation is that he could be losing that eligibility because he checked himself into a rehab facility for gambling, and he was making bets and things of that nature. Yeah, and tough situation, tough scene, and everything, and that could absolutely he could lose his eligibility to play college football. So I remember Josh Gordon. I think he lost his eligibility, whatever it might have been, or something along those lines, and he entered the supplemental draft, and then had Josh did what Josh did, right? And he did more than he needed to and different things like that. And his career just didn't fully pan out. But the early returns on that supplemental draft pick were, business was booming, right? In the words of AB, business was booming. But I definitely look at this situation and I just think that, in the right situation with, honestly, he's Ty Simpson's there, but I would have loved him in Los Angeles with the Rams. They could have given up a second or third for next year and got Brendan Sorsby and bring him in and, let him learn from Stafford. And I'm going to say this, guys, real quick, man. I know some people might look at it, a gambling addiction, he checked himself into rehab. Is it that deep? Yes, it is. Okay. No matter what type of addiction it is, it can hurt, right? It can hurt you in multiple ways. So yes, I commend him if he's really serious about the getting the help and going into, the rehab and whatnot. If he did it for the right reasons and he's serious about it, I pray for the young man that he gets the healing, the everything, whatever he needs, right? To really be able to put that behind him and move forward and being the best version of himself. So prayers up for Brendan Sorsby in that regard. I worked in mental health, well before I got into this field and everything. I worked in the mental health facility, so I know me myself, I go to therapy too. I go to therapy, right? I've told you guys this, my everydayers. So, mental health, all that stuff. They're like, no matter what it's for, people have eating disorders. People have addiction to a lot of different things, right? It's not always, paraphernalia and alcohol. It's other things that can derail people's lives. And clearly this is something that sunk his teeth into him. And yeah, I just hope he gets the help he needs so he can be the best version of himself going forward. But to get back on track with it, if he were to go to the NFL supplemental draft, I just think it makes sense for him, because if you're going to lose that eligibility because of this situation, if you're not going to be able to play, there's no reason to stay. Simple as that, guys. So, yes, again, 6'3", 235, good arm, good athlete, pocket mobility, can create second reaction throws. I want to see him get better with handling pressure and be able to throw with pressure in his face and everything. And just, becoming more consistent with his accuracy and ball placement overall. But, guys, that's the show. That's our Friday episode of Locked On NFL Draft. Again, talking about the supplemental draft, potential supplemental draft for Brendan Sorsby as the lone prospect that would enter. Why the Arizona Cardinals should truly consider allowing Carson Beck to compete to be the Week 1 starter for their franchise in 2026, and the fact that Pittsburgh Steelers' decision to rebuild and uninstall and to uninstall and install their mechanics, their process, their teachings and tools and methods to help Drew Allar's long-term career. But guys, as always, thank you for making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen of the day. And thank you for making the Locked On Podcast Network, #1 sports podcast network in America. It's all because of you. Go subscribe and follow for free on YouTube, wherever you listen to podcasts. You get the latest episode as soon as it is available. Coming up on Monday's show, guys, Keith will be back. We have some time constraints. We push the Shedeur Sanders, Tyler Shuck breakdowns into next week. We're doing that. We're probably going to try to get into doing picking a draft class and doing a redraft. So have some fun this summer before we get into the nitty-gritty of summer scouting. So come join the conversation again tomorrow on Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.